Hafa Adai, good afternoon, everyone. It gives me great pleasure today to, I guess we are on the air, to call to session, or the speaker here, Speaker Mori, will call into session the 2012 Youth Leadership Day legislative session. And this is Speaker Tinalta Mori from Simon Sanchez High School, and she will be our speaker for the day, and she will call this into order.
The 2012 Youth Leadership Day legislature session is called to order. Majority Leader Perez, motion to adopt today's session agenda, dated May 17, 2012, please.
I move to adopt today's agenda dated May 17, 2012.
Any objections? No. No objections, so ordered. I'd now like to recognize Senator Grant for the prayer.
Please rise. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.
I'd now like to recognize Senator Marzan for the Inafrasi.
Ginene imastakulo gihinasoku imastakulun gikirasonu zanimas figu naninyasunyahu uafasa masazu para vibratahi zanu defendi ihunangi ikutura ilingahi iari ihanan zanintalan chimoto neither shaku kurachu zezus tata as to a fitma gihilu bibla Zandivedanahu Ibandarangahan.
Singing of the Guam hymn by Senator Stevenson Threets.
Vanogitamoru put itanota cantamatunan gitodu ilugat. Para y honra, para y gloria, abiba isla sin parar. Para y honra, para y gloria, abiba isla sin parar. Todo y tiempo y paz para ita. Tian kinenilan na bendición contra el peligro la fan sofuham tu us protegis lan Guam contra el peligro la fan sofuham tu us protegis lan Guam.
Now the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner by Senator Petrie.
Stripes and bright stars
Madam Clerk, please conduct the roll call.
Senator Atia Belhadra. Senator Ho Mary Caleb. Senator Mariana Connolly. Senator Austin Grant. Senator Hannah Marzan. Senator Speaker Tanelta Mori.
Here.
Senator Anisha Paris. Senator Chris Paris. Senator Jobert Petrie. Senator Kojay Kitchachuk. Senator Danielle Stevenson Threat. Madam Speaker, wish to report there is a quorum. Did I miss anybody?
I don't think so. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd now like to recognize Chairman of Rules Committee and Majority Leader, Senator Perez.
Madam Speaker, I move to waive item 6 since this is the first session.
Any objections?
Madam Speaker, there are communications and petitions. I move to waive its reading and to append them to today's journal.
So ordered.
Under messages from Imagalahin, Guam, Madam Speaker, I move there are messages from Imagalahin, Guam. I move to waive its reading and to append them to today's journal.
Any objections? So ordered. Any further motions?
On reports of standing committees, Madam Speaker, there are reports of standing committees. I move to waive its reading and to append them to today's journal.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
On reports of select committees, Madam Speaker, there are no reports of select committees at this time.
Any objections?
Under introductions and first reading of bills and resolutions, Madam Speaker, I move that Bill number 1 to Bill number 8 and Resolution number 1 to Resolution number 2 be given its first reading.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Madam Speaker, I move that all legislative resolutions and certificates of congratulatory, commendatory, or condolence nature introduced before the end of this legislative day be considered to have had its first reading, that they be adopted by the body, and that all members be listed as co-sponsors, and to allow the legal counsel to make technical corrections as are necessary or as recommended by the author.
There being no objections, so ordered. Any further motions?
Madam Speaker, I move to place Bill number 1 through 9 on the second reading file.
Are there any objections? If none, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to place resolutions 1 and 2 in the second reading file.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We can now go to the second reading file.
Thank you. The Speaker recognizes Senator Connolly for Bill number 1.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to introduce Bill number 1 to the body. Bill number 1 is an act to recognize and promote the villages of Guam by dedicating departure gates at the A.B. Wonpat International Airport. This will help promote Guam as a tourist destination of choice. It will show the visitors places that they will be able to see when they first arrive, and when it is time for them to depart, they can see all the other villages that they did not know about. When they first come, they get to know a little bit about one specific village and get to see what is waiting for them. When they realize that they haven't seen all of Guam, then they might want to come back and go to these places. They'll be like, wow, I can't believe I missed this place when I first came. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and my colleagues.
Thank you, Senator Connolly. Would any of the senators like to speak on the bill just introduced? Yes, Senator Stevenson, Threet.
I rise to support. This is a great opportunity to preserve the Chamorro culture and give tourists an opportunity to learn more about the culture we have on our island.
Thank you, Senator Stevenson, Threet. Anyone else? If there's none more, I'd like to recognize Senator Connolly to close.
Nothing further. I thank my colleagues.
On the motion to move the bill to third reading, any objections? If none, so moved. So ordered. I'd now like to recognize Senator Hannah Marzan for Bill number 2.
Madam Speaker, I ask that Bill number 2-31 be placed in third reading file.
Thank you. Any objections to moving Bill number 2 to reading number 3? There being none, so ordered. I'd like to recognize you again, Senator Marsan, to close, or to speak on the bill. I'm sorry.
And I ask that I be allowed to speak on it.
So ordered.
Madam Speaker, Bill number 2-31 is an act to add a new subsection 5115A to Chapter 5 of Title 17, Guam Code annotated relative to a peer review evaluation process for Guam Department of Education teachers. The Guam Legislature finds that there are many excellent teachers in the Guam Department of Education, and while there are many outstanding educators, we should always strive for continual improvement and provide continual learning opportunities for teachers. The Guam Legislature intends to provide an evaluation tool to assist teachers and improve skills so that our students continue to learn, which is dynamic, connected, and focused, in order to reach their highest potential. So basically, the evaluation tool will train, support, and help teachers teach so that all students can learn.
Thank you, Senator Marzan. Would any of the senators like to comment on the bill? Any senators? There being none, I'd like to ask Senator Marzan to close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask to put it in the voting file.
Any objections? If none, thank you, Senator Morzan. So ordered. I'd like to now recognize Senator Perez to introduce Bill number 3.
Madam Speaker, I move to place Bill number 3 in the voting file with some discussion.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Bill number 3 Bill number 3 is an act to require the Guam Education Board to develop a comprehensive public school facilities plan that requires the gradual incorporation of alternative green energy and resource conservation methods in all existing public education facilities to be rehabilitated, renovated, or constructed. This bill will require all schools newly planned and constructed to be converted into environmentally friendly facilities. The goal of this bill is to save power and water and decrease waste in all public schools. Not only will this bill conserve water and energy, but it will also decrease pollution on island. As a result, this bill will decrease the financial problems the government faces to run the schools, such as paying the power and water bills and waste fees. It would also implement recycling program in all schools, and it can lead into income that can be used for expenses. It will be an achievement for the Guam by having all public school facilities convert to environmentally friendly schools. Overall, the island will benefit from this program because it saves spending, decreases pollution, and it is environmentally friendly.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Are there any senators who wish to speak? Yes, Senator Kichocho.
I rise in support of this bill. I believe that this bill will help encourage the government of Guam to implement more alternative and energy efficient measures, starting with the public school system, and I think that it will help in the long term with cost-saving measures. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kichocho. Now calling upon Senator Balahajov.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support this bill because not only is this important for our community, for our children, also for the future of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bilahaja. Senator Stevenson Threet.
I rise in support of this bill because the money saved by having environmentally friendly resources, you could save money by not running the air conditioning all the time, and the money saved could be used to buy school books. I urge my colleagues to do the same.
Thank you, Senator Stevenson Threet. Would any other senators wish to speak on the matter? If none, I'd like to call upon or recognize Senator Perez once again.
Madam Speaker, I thank my colleagues for supporting this bill.
On the motion to place it in voting file, any objections? If none, so ordered. I'd now like to call upon Senator Petrie to introduce Bill number 4.
Madam Speaker, I would like to place Bill 4, an act to prioritize the payment of unpaid overtime amounts for prior fiscal years to retired personnel of the Department of Corrections in the third reading file for voting and to be allowed to discuss it.
Any objections? There being none, so ordered.
Madam Speaker, Bill 4 will prioritize the payment of prior year overtime amounts to the DOC retirees who have already retired but have not been paid the OT owed to them. Given our cash position, this priority is set will only be based on their availability of funds. Madam Speaker, when we owe a debt, it should be paid to those most in need. I move to place Bill 4 in the voting file.
Anything further?
No.
Thank you, Senator Petrie. Would anyone like to say anything? Speak on the bill? Yes, Senator Stevenson Threet.
I rise in support of this bill. I believe that the government shouldn't make a habit of holding on to people's money and that this should be a priority because they're retired and they need the money that they deserve.
Thank you, Senator Stevenson Threet. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Senator Paris.
Madam Speaker, why does this government still owe people? This is money that is owed to retired correction officers. This is like tax refunds because we need to pay it.
Thank you, Senator Paris. Would anyone else like to speak on the bill? Yes, Senator Caleb.
I rise in support of this bill because I believe the government should take care of its prior obligations and its retirees.
Thank you, Senator Caleb. Any other senators to speak on the matter? There being none, I'd like to recognize Senator Petrie to close.
I would like to thank my colleagues for supporting the bill, and I would like to put Bill 4 in the file to be voted.
There being no objections, so ordered. I'd now the chair would like to take a short recess.
The 2012 Youth Leadership Day legislative session is called back to order. I recognize Senator Sanelta Mori to present Bill number 5.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to make a motion to move Bill number 5 to the third reading.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask for an opportunity to speak on the bill.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Thank you. Bill number 5 is an act to add a new section 10315 to Chapter 10 of Title 5 of the Guam Code annotated relative to mandating the online disclosure of small purchase awards and open purchase orders. So basically what this bill is, the Chief Procurement Officer, the Director of Public Works, or the head of a purchasing agency shall post an award made pursuant to 5 GCA Section 5213 for small purchases of supplies or services between $500 and $15,000. And for the procurement of construction, as defined in 5 GCA Section 5030, between $500 and $50,000 on his respective government entity website within 72 hours of such reward. For purposes of this section, the posting shall include the date of the award, the department or agency providing the award, the goods or services being purchased or procured under the award, and the name of the entity receiving the award. So basically, this act is requiring that all companies who are purchasing the government property or government company should post it on their respective website, the 3 quotations that they've received, the procurement that they're going to be receiving. And what this does is it ensures that the procurement is in the best interest of the taxpayers, and it also shows, it justifies this procurement, enabling it to have transparency. Thank you. That'll be all.
Would any other senators like to speak on the bill just introduced? If none, I recognize Senator Mori to close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to just hope that my colleagues will support me on this bill and motion to move it to the third reading file. Thank you.
Any objections? If none, thank you, Senator Mori. So ordered. I recognize Senator Grant to represent Bill number 6.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. I would like to place Bill 6-31 into the third reading file, and I'd like to discuss it.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
This bill is a stakeholders' right proposal. It is designed to garner input concerning major policy changes of the Guam Education Board at the beginning of the process. Madam Speaker, stakeholders were asked for input after the decision was made. Madam Speaker, another example is a major decision being considered by changing grade levels. Madam Speaker, finally, Senator Connolly recently stated that before a major decision such as this should receive input from all stakeholders, most especially students. Therefore, Bill 6-31 would do exactly that. As a representative of the people of Guam, I hope that the decision that I made is regarding additional issues become more transparent. I humbly ask you to support my bill. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to propose my bill, Madam Speaker.
Would any other senator like to speak on the bill just introduced? Recognize Senator Marzan.
I rise in support. I believe that students should be allowed to participate in the discussions and decisions made about their own schools. Thank you.
Senator Stevenson Threet.
Situ Usma Ase, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill. I believe that the public has a right to know and students deserve to have a say in what goes on in the decisions with the education. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Senator Kichichu to close. Oh. Wait, to speak on the bill.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of this bill. I believe that by having transparency and by requesting input of the stakeholders beforehand, we can avoid having all this protest and all this trouble after the decision is made. So if the Department of Education and the Guam Education Board survey the students beforehand, survey the teachers beforehand, we can avoid this whole mess of having protests and people disagreeing with the decision because they weren't asked for their input. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kichichu. I recognize Senator Perez. Or not.
Madam, I recognize my colleague, Senator Austin Grant, in giving the students more say over the school system.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Would any other senators like to speak? If none, I recognize Senator Grant to close.
Colleagues, thank you for your support. I ask that this bill be placed in the third reading file.
Any objections? If none, thank you, Senator Grant. So ordered. I recognize Senator Perez to present Bill 7.
Madam Speaker, I move that Bill 7 be placed on third reading file, and I would like to discuss it.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Bill 7 is an act to authorize the Department of Public Health and Social Services to contract the services of qualified nonprofit organization in the establishment of the Gomata Transitional Homeless Shelter. The Guam Legislature finds that, according to the Guam Homeless Coalition, there are at least 350 homeless people on island. Many of these individuals can be found on the streets and are not able to find a decent place to live. By not having a stable place to live, it will be difficult for them to find employment, raise a family, and eventually become a product member of our community. It is the intent of the Guam Legislature to provide a homeless shelter for these individuals. The homeless shelter will provide these individuals with temporary place to eat, sleep, take care of personal hygiene, and to coordinate nonprofit organizations, private companies, and community partners towards finding jobs and improving their lives. The Guam Legislature further intends to authorize the Department of Public Health and Social Services to use a portion of its annual budget to contract services of a qualified nonprofit organization on Guam in establishing the Gumata Our Home transitional homeless shelter. The legislature intends for the Department of Public Health and Social Services in coordination with the Department of Public Health, with the non-profit organization duly selected to establish and maintain such a shelter program as a means to reduce, ultimately eliminate homeless on Guam. I ask the support of my colleagues.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Would any other senators like to speak on the bill just introduced? I recognize Senator Marizan.
I rise in support. I believe people who have lost their way should be given a second chance, and a homeless shelter is a great place to get them back on their feet. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Anyone else? If none, I recognize Senator Perez to close.
Thank you for your kind support.
Thank you, Senator Perez. I recognize Senator Mori to present Bill number 8.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to raise a motion to move Bill number 8 to the third reading.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Madam Speaker, I request the opportunity to speak on Bill number 8.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
Bill number 8 is an act to increase of the minimum wage to $8.27 by amending Section 3105 of Title 22 of the Guam Code annotated. Madam Speaker, I understand that this is a mock session and that the measures we pass here do not have the force of law, but I believe we can send a message to our community, a message I hope will be heard. No one who works a full-time job should have to live in poverty. In simple terms, the measure I propose will raise the island's minimum wage to $8.27 within the next year. It will expand the circle of economic opportunity for thousands of island workers and provide some measure of hope to those who are always working harder and earning less. As a child of a single parent home, I personally understand the financial struggles faced by too many families. For the first time in my life, island media recently reported that welfare earns a family more money than work, and that cannot be a hallmark of this generation. I understand that some members might be concerned that raising the minimum wage would endanger local businesses. To them, I say this. People making $16,000 a year buy milk and bread, not BMWs and summer homes. This means that every dollar earned by a family working a minimum wage job returns to the private sector. In the end, I believe Guam's great because we are a family, because we acknowledge our responsibilities to one another. Madam Speaker, I move to place Bill number 8 in the third reading file for voting.
Any objections? If none, so ordered. Would any other senators like to speak on the bill just introduced? I recognize Senator Balahaja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill. I'd like to be the third co-sponsor.
of this bill because I think it's important for the workers of Guam and for the new coming workers like me. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. I recognize Senator Petrie.
I rise in support of this bill because I believe that anybody working at a minimum wage should have a higher price of payment each week or yearly. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Petrie. I recognize Senator Stevenson Threet.
I understand the intent and I feel for the families. I also commend the author, but I have to object. Businesses will have to worry about paying a higher minimum wage and may not have enough money. And although we do want the people of Guam to make more money, like to have more money in their pocket, we don't want people to be laid off or for people to go out of business. Because if you raise the minimum wage, then everyone's affected from the bottom to the top. Like, for example, people who earn $8.27, their pay will have to be raised, and then everybody above them will have to be raised, and eventually people will have to be fired because businesses can't afford to pay them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I would like to return to the motion by Senator Valahajo to be added as a third co-sponsor. I call for a vote to add Senator Valahajo as a third co-sponsor. No objection, so ordered. Anyone else? If none, I recognize Senator Perez.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of this bill because I know who my constituents are, and they are the working families in Guam. With this bill, it will increase the minimum wage, and it will also encourage the people to spend money on business. Also, if welfare earns more than the people who works in the business with a minimum wage, then that is just unfair.
Thank you, Senator Perez. If no other senator would like to speak on the bill, I recognize Senator Mori to close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd also like to thank my fellow colleagues for your support. I'd now like to make a motion to move this to the voting file.
Any objections? If none, thank you, Senator Mori. So ordered.
The 2012 Youth Leadership Day Legislature session is back in order. I'd like to recognize Senator Stevenson Threet to speak on Bill number 9.
Situus ma'ase, Madam Speaker. I would like to discuss this bill further. Oh, I'd like to move it to the third reading file for discussion.
Any objections? If none, so ordered.
In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, a nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the soul of its people. Over the years, the amount of people on Guam that speak the Chamorro language has greatly decreased, and this shows us that we are in danger of slowly losing our culture. But our culture doesn't only include language. It includes music, art, literature, dance, religion, and many other customs and traditions. The bill that I would like to present says that in order to benefit from a qualifying certificate, businesses must display local artwork. This includes, but isn't limited to, paintings, murals, sculptures, and other objects of indigenous art. Beneficiaries would be required to offer at least 1% of the total office space. However, if the beneficiary's business does not have an office space, in the example of a farm, then a display of art will be required in its administrative office space. Qualifying certificates bring people to Guam. They provide tax breaks as an incentive, and as a result of this, they improve the economy of our island. This bill would be effective 90 days after enactment. We need to protect our culture, and by displaying local artwork in the businesses of people who qualify for qualifying certificates, we could preserve our culture. I hope that you too realize how important our culture is and how we need to preserve it. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I hope my colleagues support the bill. I thank my colleagues and ask for their support, and I would like to move my bill into the voting file.
Any senators to speak on the bill? Yes, Senator Marzan.
I stand in support for the art, but Public Law 31-118 already requires 1% of art. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Marzan. Any other senators to speak on the matter? Yes, Senator Grant.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of Bill 9-31. I believe that it is extremely important to keep the Chamorro culture alive. Yes, the Chamorro tradition is endangered, and we must stand up and protect it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Grant. Any other senator to speak on the matter? If none, I'd like to return it back to Senator Stevenson Threet to close. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Perez?
I rise in support of this bill, and I encourage my colleague to reconsider her objections on the previous bill, because when employees earn more money, Madam Speaker, I call for order.
Order. Senator Perez.
When employees make more money, they spend more money. And businesses pay more taxes. And when they pay more taxes, they can fund programs like local arts and business and qualifying certificates. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Would any of the other senators like to have a say on the matter? Senator Stevenson?
I would like to thank my colleagues for their support. We need to support our local artists because they don't have a place to display their artwork in a place such as an art museum, and this is a way of businesses to give back to the local artists. And also, if we raise the minimum wage, businesses will not have an opportunity, they won't have enough money to hang local artwork in 1% of their building space. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Stevenson Threet. On the motion to move Bill number 9 to the voting file, any objections? If none, so ordered. I'd now like to recognize Senator Kojay Kwichocho to speak on resolution number 10.
Is it resolution or bill?
It says resolution 10-31.
No, there is a resolution on this 31.
Resolution number 10-31.
That's wrong.
Okay.
Number 3. Okay,
Number
so
three.
it's we'll do resolution number 1.
Okay. Okay. Sorry for the confusion. I'd now like to recognize Senator Athea Balahaja to speak on resolution number 1.
Madam Speaker, I ask that resolution number 1-3 be considered into the third reading. This resolution is relative to ensuring that the school children of Guam are afforded to all opportunities to prepare for a healthful future. By ensuring that they are exposed to healthier meal alternatives at island schools. Did you know that Guam's child diabetes rate is double that of the 50 United States put together? Whereas addressing school nutrition should be viewed as a priority item, and the Education Policy Board should be implementing policy at various schools to ensure to access fruits and vegetables and snacks that have high nutritional value. Perhaps by a way of a salad bar in the secondary schools, and by having fruits and vegetables served as first choice items in all cafeteria lines. Giving students the option of healthier food choices, not only to show our support, but also to give them motivation to pursue a healthier life. I humbly ask my colleagues for the support of my resolution.
Thank you, Senator Balahaja. Any senators to speak on the bill? On resolution number 1. I'm sorry. Yes, Senator Stevenson Threet.
I rise in support of this bill and would like to add an amendment.
The amendment?
Yes. To resolution 1. I think we also need to offer physical education in public schools, because I know a family who are under the direct instruction program and haven't had a PE class in 5 years. And also, our children on Guam are getting fat and dying. I'm sorry. Our children on Guam, many children are obese and are dying as a result of it. Thank you.
Senator Stevenson Threet, is there a specific place you'd like to place the amendment?
I call for recess, please.
So ordered. Youth Leadership Day legislature session is now back in order. I'd like to recognize Senator Stevenson Threet on her floor amendment on resolution number 1.
Situ Usmaasi, Madam Speaker, I would like to place this amendment in line 13 after the last whereas clause. Our children, whereas the Guam Education Policy Board recognized the importance of physical education and all public schools should implement a physical education course that complements any nutritional policies that they set. Do I have permission to discuss this further?
Yes.
Okay. Physical education is just as important as nutrition and childhood obesity. Childhood obesity can result in high blood pressure and heart complications. So with physical education, children have an opportunity to exercise. And I know a family whose children have been in the direct information program and they haven't had a PE class in 5 years. Our children are getting fat and dying. And I know that the word fat, it's extremely dramatic, but this is a very big problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Stevenson Threet. Now recognizing senators to speak on the matter. Senator Kichocho. Bless you.
Madam Speaker, I was wondering if the author would yield to a question.
Senator Threet, do you yield?
What is the question?
Senator Kichocho, what is the question?
I would like to know if you yield to the question first.
State the question, please.
I will. In the amendment, it says, it speaks about how all public schools should implement a physical education course. As of now, the high schools already have a physical education course implemented and is required of all students before they graduate. So I was wondering if the author could clarify on what it is exactly where she intends to implement the program, since high schools already require physical education.
I was speaking about elementary and middle schools and all of the schools that don't have physical education programs.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kichocho. I now turn it back, Senator Perez.
Madam Speaker, will the sponsor of the amendment yield to a question?
Would you yield, Senator Threet?
What is the question?
Senator Perez.
Are you a public or a private school student?
I'm a private school student.
But you are making an amendment for the public school. Are you saying that private school students are healthier than public school students in your opinion?
No, of course not. I'm just worried about the community, and I think that a lot of schools overshadow the importance of physical education, and it doesn't only apply to public schools.
Since this is a resolution, shouldn't we also encourage private schools to offer physical fitness?
Yes, of course. Well, the school that I go to, we have PE every day for 1 hour.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Perez, and thank you, Senator Stevenson Threet. Would any other senator like to speak on the resolution amendment? Yes, Senator Caleb.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill because I believe that physical education is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Caleb. Would any other senator like to speak on the resolution amendment? Senator Kuchocho.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to applaud the author of this amendment, and I would like to stand in support, but just to state that the author does go to a private school in which parents pay tuition to fund the curriculum. And I would like to point out that I support the implementation of physical education into the elementary and middle schools if we can allocate the proper funding for such programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kuchocho. Yes, Senator Balahaja.
I'd like to add another whereas of implementing maybe Zumba or other new fun physical activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Balahaja. Any other senator? Senator Balahaja, did you want to put an amendment?
Yes, another whereas.
Where would you like to place it?
Anywhere.
Okay, so order in the session room. Thank you. I'd like to take a short recess so that we may get the amendment typed out.
Oh, we didn't.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
So before we take the recess, I'd like to
Go back to
recognize once again Senator Stevenson Threet to close.
Situs Maase, Madam Speaker. It doesn't matter whether or not I come from a public or private school. I'm a member of this community just like everyone else, and I have friends that go to public school. Thank you.
On the amendment, any objections? There being none, so ordered. Now we have our recess. So, Senator Balahaja, have you decided where to specifically place your amendment?
I would like to ask legal counsel to assist in that determination.
Senator Balahaja, do you have an amendment? A written amendment?
It's coming now.
Okay. So, recess. Order in the session hall, please. Thank you. The 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature session is back in order. In the interest of time, I'd like to request, if there's no objections, that Senator Balahaja just read out her amendment. Any objections?
No, it's faster. Just read it. We're trying to get out of here by noon.
Senator Balahaja, your amendment.
Okay. Add another whereas. It is further encouraged that the Guam Board of Education add new and different physical education options in Guam public schools, including Zumba, body pump, and yoga classes. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Balahaja. On the amendment, any senators who wish to speak? None. Any objections to the amendment? If there be none, so ordered. On the main resolution, number 1, anyone else to speak? If none, so ordered.
Oh, she did? Yeah. No, then we need to move it down.
Oh, okay, so...
Who's that? Kayla. Ask her to move it to the board of fire.
Oh, wait, no, we haven't done this one yet.
Oh, so
Yes,
it's
this one.
ask her.
Not there, Balahaja. I'm sorry, Senator Balahaja, do you want to close?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, for your support, and thank you for the amendment. I hope that you vote for this resolution. Thank you.
On the motion to move resolution number 1 to voting files, any objections? If none, so ordered. I'd now like to recognize Senator Caleb to speak on resolution number 2.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to move Resolution 2-31 to the third reading file.
Any objections? If there be none, so ordered.
I'd like to speak about the resolution.
You're recognized.
Relative to requesting the superintendent of the Guam Department of Education to formulate a task force to immediately inventory the type and number of textbooks available for students within the Department of Education and to report said findings to the chairperson of the Guam Education Policy Board. The Governor of Guam and the Speaker of the Guam Legislature with recommendation to redistribute books found in excess for appropriate action.
Thank you, Senator Caleb. Would any of the senators like to speak on resolution number 2? Senator Kichocho?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this resolution. I believe that by distributing books to schools that need them, as compared to leaving them in schools that have too many, will allow the students to have the adequate tools to learn properly. I mean, as a student, you've gone through so many years of carrying like 3 textbooks at a time to school. So if we had adequate amount of textbooks for each class, then a student could have one at home and one at school to prevent them from the stress of having to worry about bringing books to and from school.
Thank you, Senator Kichocho. Any other senator to speak on the resolution? Senator Balahaja.
I'd like to support this resolution, but I also like to suggest and recommend that DOE stop spending so much money on textbooks where we can buy electronic or digital textbooks, which would cost less. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Balahaja. Any other senators? Senator Stevenson, 3.
I rise in support of this resolution. When Senator Callip came to me and asked me to co-sponsor this, I was quick to jump on board because although I do go to a private school, I still know about the problems that are faced in public schools, and I believe that students should be able to take books home so that they can complete their assignments. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Threet. Any other senators to speak on the resolution? If there be none, I'd like to call upon Senator Callip to close.
I'd like to thank my colleagues and my co-sponsors and Danielle for adding an amendment that made it feel stronger. I'd like to make a motion to move Resolution 2-31 to the voting file, and thank you.
If there be no objections, so ordered. Senator Perez, I'm sorry.
Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the House of Rules, I move that Resolution 3 be placed on the second reading file.
Any objections? There being none, so ordered. I'd now like to recognize Senator Kichocho to speak on Resolution 3.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move to place Resolution 3-31 into the third reading file and be allowed to briefly discuss the intent of my resolution.
Any objections? Please continue.
Relative to requesting the Department of Education and the Governor of Guam to conduct a status meeting for all stakeholders relative to the completion of the John F. Kennedy High School facilities prior to the end of school year 2011-2012. Madam Speaker, colleagues, it was not too long ago that I was standing at that very window protesting and in support of the JFK rebuild, trying to move things along. Today, the John F. Kennedy High School campus is there, it is rebuilt. But to this day, there are many parts of the facility that remain incomplete. This resolution is a request to the Department of Education and Governor of Guam and IBC to hold a meeting with all students, teachers, and faculty and all other concerned to basically update the community on the status of the school. When we're in class and we talk about parts of our school, such as the gym and the field, and we asked our teachers, when can we use the gym and the field, they simply reply, I don't know. Basically, the entire school is kept in the dark. They do not know the dates of completion. They do not know when we will be able to use the facilities. As a senior at JFK, I just would like to ensure that by the end of the school year, we know when all these facilities will be completed, as to ensure that the future classes of John F. Kennedy High School can enjoy the full benefits of the entire campus. That is all.
Thank you, Senator Kichocho. Any other senators to speak on resolution number 3? Senator Perez.
Madam Speaker, I ask to be a co-sponsor of this resolution.
Any objections? If there be none, so ordered. Senator Grant.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to co-sponsor this resolution.
Any objections? If there be none, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Grant. Any other senator who wishes to speak on resolution number 3? Senator Perez.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of the resolution 3 because I am a student. I'm also a student at John F. Kennedy, and we need to make sure that our school is completed in pursuant to the contract that was made by IBC and Government of Guam.
Thank you, Senator Perez. You're recognized. Sorry.
I rise in support of this resolution and look forward to these status updates, and I hope this information is shared with the stakeholders and the entire community. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Would any of the other senators like to say anything? If there be none, I'd like to return it back to Senator Kichocho to close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For my closing, I would like to state that I do know that this is a mock session, but this is a serious appeal to the Department of Education and the Governor of Guam to hold a status meeting for all stakeholders of John F. Kennedy High School, because we are serious about finding out when our campus will be complete. And I ask all my colleagues for their support. Thank you very much.
And the motion to move resolution number 3 to the voting file. Any objections? If there be none, so ordered. Is there any other matter to attend to? Senator Perez, Majority Leader.
No, Madam Speaker, but I move to that we vote on the bills and resolution without engrossment.
Any objections? If there be none, so ordered. Now for a short recess. 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature session is now back in session. I'd like to acknowledge Senator Perez.
Madam Speaker, the minority leader has brought to my attention that there is an amendment to Bill number 8, which is not a technical amendment, so I move to take Bill number 8 from the voting file and move it to the second reading file.
Any objections? There being none, so ordered.
Madam Speaker, I request that the minority leader make an amendment.
I'd like to recognize Senator Caleb.
Madam Speaker, the bill contains two dates, January 1st, 2013 and October 1st, 2013. So which is the date that is going to be in effect?
January 1st, 2013.
So I move to make the effective date January 1st, 2013. On line 9.
Any objections? If none, so ordered. Senator Perez.
Again, Madam Speaker, I thank the good minority leader for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you, Senator Perez.
And I move that Bill number 8 be moved to the voting file.
Any objections? No objections. Thank you, Senator Perez. If none, so ordered. Madam Clerk, on voting file. Oh. Would there be any objections to voting by hand as opposed to voting by roll call? Objection. There being an objection, we'll vote by roll call. Any objections to voting by hand in opposed to voting by roll call? Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Point of order. Point of order.
Oh, Senator Perez?
Madam Speaker, can we just take a vote on your request to vote on show of hands?
Okay, there being a motion. All those in favor of voting by hand, please raise your hand. Motion passed. Therefore, we will be voting by show of hand. Madam Clerk.
Bill number 1-31 COR introduced by M. Connolly C. Paris. An act to recognize and promote the villagers of Guam by dedicating departure gates at the A.B. Wampet International Airport. All in favor?
Please proceed. By hand. All those in favor of Bill number 1, please raise your hand. Unanimous. Bill number 1 is passed. Bill number 2.
Bill number 2-31 COR, introduced by Hannah C.J. Marzan. An act to add a new subsection 5115A to Chapter 5 of Title 17 Guam Code annotated relative to peer review evaluation process for Guam Department of Education teachers.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Bill number 2 has been passed. Bill number 3.
Bill number 3-31 COR, introduced by Chris Zarteras, Athea Balahaja. An act to require the Guam Education Board to develop a comprehensive public school facilities plan that requires the gradual incorporation of alternative green energy and resource conservation methods in all existing public education facilities to be rehabilitated, renovated, or constructed.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimous. Bill number 3 has been duly passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. Bill number 4.
Bill number 4-31 COR, introduced by Zobor L. Petrie Pinelda Mori. An act to prioritize the payment of unpaid overtime amounts for prior fiscal years to retired personnel of the Department of Corrections.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Okay, unanimous.
Unanimous. Bill number 4 has been passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. Bill number 5.
Bill number 5-31 COR, introduced by Pinelda Mori J. Petrie. An act to add a new section 10315 to Chapter 10 of Title 5 of the Guam Code annotated relative to mandating the online disclosure of small purchase awards and open purchase orders.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's always 8. No, it's only 7 too. Try that again.
I'm sorry, can all those in favor please raise your hand? Bill number 5 has been duly passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. Bill number 6.
Bill number 6-31 COR, introduced by Austin Grand, Hope Caleb, Danielle Stevenson, threat. An act to add new subsections 3102.2A and section 3102.2B to Chapter 3, Article 1 of Title 17 Guam Code Annotated relative to the transparency of Education Board meetings and adoption of class schedules.
On the bill, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimous. Bill number 6 has been passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. Bill number 7.
Bill number 7 31 COR introduced by Anisha M. Paris. An act to authorize the Department of Public Health and Social Services to contract the services of a qualified nonprofit organization in the establishment of the Gumata Transitional Homeless Shelter.
On bill number 7, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimous. Bill number 7 has been duly passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. On bill number 8.
That'll be the last bill.
Oh.
We have to read Bill 9 accordingly.
Bill number 9. Oh, sorry.
No.
There was an order.
Change this order.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bill number 8 will be the last bill.
Is Bill number 9?
Sorry for the confusion. Bill number 9.
Wait.
It's Bill 9. Sorry.
Bill number 9-31 COR introduced by Danielle Stevenson Thread, 3 Hope Caleb Austin Grant. An act to add a new subsection 58110J to Chapter 58, Title 12 of the Guam Code Annotated relative to the inclusion of the display of local art as a condition of benefit for qualifying certificate beneficiaries.
On bill number 9, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Unanimous? Oh, wait.
No, there was one that didn't vote.
Okay.
Just passed.
So, bill number 9 has been duly passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. Bill number 8.
Bill number 8-31 CR as amended, introduced by T. Mori, J. Petrie, A. Balahaja. An act to increase of the minimum wage to $8.27 by amending section 3105 of Title 22 of the Guam Code Annotated.
Before we vote, I'd like to clarify the reason why bill number 8 was thrown to the bottom. Considering that we had to make an amendment to it at the last minute, so that's why it's been moved to the bottom, just to clarify. So on bill number 8, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Yeah.
Insufficient votes. Bill number 8 fails.
7 maybe.
If only received 7 votes, there's insufficient.
Due to insufficient votes, bill number 8 will not be passed. Right?
Fail passage.
Resolution number 1. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Balahaja.
Madam Speaker, I move for reconsideration.
On the motion to reconsider the vote on Bill number 8. Any objections?
Still, we can have a vote on the number of those reconsideration. I don't think it's that.
Can I have a vote on whether or not it'll be reconsidered? All those in favor to reconsider the vote, please raise your hand. How many? 8?
Can we have the hand show hands
I'm sorry, can we have the show of hands once again, please?
on reconsideration?
Under reconsideration.
7, 8. Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8. 8
The
votes.
motion to reconsider is passed
The motion to reconsider has passed
on the motion on Bill number
on Bill number 8.
on Bill number 8, not those who passed.
To reconsider.
Now,
To reconsider.
I missed. So now we vote on Bill number 8 again.
Vote now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we vote on 8 again.
okay,
On, go ahead.
okay.
On Bill number 8.
On Bill number 8.
Reconsideration.
On Bill number 8. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Bill, else.
2, 4,
Okay.
6, 7 only.
The, okay. Due to insufficient votes, Bill number 8 has failed and will not be passed.
Fail passage.
Okay. For
Go ahead.
Senator Perez.
Madam Speaker, I request that the bill be moved back into committee because it's a shame that the raise of minimum wage did not pass.
Any objections to the motion? There being no objections, so ordered. Resolution number Resolution number 1.
Resolution number 1-31 COR as amended, introduced by Athea Delhaja Chris Perez, relative to ensuring that the school children of Guam are afforded all opportunities to prepare for a healthy future by ensuring that they are exposed to healthier meal alternatives at island schools.
On resolution number 1-31, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Resolution number 1 has been passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. Resolution number 2.
Resolution number 2-31 COR, introduced by Hope Caleb, Danielle Stevenson, Fred, Austin Grant, and others, relative to requesting the superintendent of the Guam Department of Education to formulate a task force to immediately inventory the type and number of textbooks available for students within the Department of Education and to report set findings to the chairman of the Guam Education Policy Board, the governor of Guam, and the speaker of the Guam Legislature with recommendations to redistribute books found in excess for appropriate action.
On resolution number 2, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Resolution number 2 has been passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. Resolution number 3.
Resolution 3-31, introduced by Ko-J Kitsu C. Paris A. Grant, relative to requesting the Department of Education and the Governor of Guam to conduct a status meeting for all stakeholders relative to the completion of the John F. Kennedy High School facilities prior to the end of school year 2011 and 2012.
On resolution number 3, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Resolution number 3 has been passed by the 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature. I'd now like to recognize Senator Perez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to adjourn the 2012 Island Leadership Day session sine die.
Any objections? If there be none, so ordered. The 2012 Youth Leadership Legislature session is now adjourned.